If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hair thinning can happen for so many reasons. Whether it's stress or hormones or anything, at Nutrafol we've learned that real change starts below the surface. Our hair growth supplements take a whole body approach and target the key root causes of hair thinning, so you can see visibly thicker, stronger hair in 3 to 6 months.
Hair growth starts from the inside at Nutrafol.com. That's Nutrafol.com. You're listening to Sweep the League.
Hey, this is George Iceman Gervin, and you're listening to Sweep the League Radio.
It was the worst kept secret in the business. But ladies and gentlemen, Penta is here. Pat being prepared to be wowed.
From Ecatepec, Mexico, weighing in at 87 kilos, Penta!
You know, Pat, many say Rey Mysterio is the absolute best luchador in the history of this planet. Many believe Penta is a very close second. This man is going to put on a show here tonight on Monday Night Raw.
And there you saw it, the debut of Pentagon Jr. in WWE, the biggest news coming out yesterday. He appeared on WWE. Finally, go and check out the wrestling podcast that we just did. It was about 20, maybe 30 minutes a little while ago. Myself and Sith. We're starting up another podcast here at Sweep the League Network, Sweep the League TV, Refocused Radio Network. We're growing. Grading the Market is another show that's coming out weekly. It's going to be with Jacob Canziano. It's going to be myself. It's going to be Sports Illustrated. Go Sports Illustrated to Collectibles. We got a whole bunch of stuff coming out. Don't miss it. Go to YouTube, Sweep the League TV, search that, subscribe, hit that notification button. The network is here, guys. It's 2025. We told y'all Sweep Unplugged is taking over left and right as well. So the granddaddy of them all, Sweep the League TV. It's myself, and it is this man, the Hall of Famer himself, Mr. Derek Gervin. We're in purple today. I like it. I love it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm representing TCU today.
TCU, man.
Well, you know, John Robertson has a daughter, not just Ariana. He has another daughter playing for TCU. So I thought I'd give a little shout out to the Horned Frogs.
There you go. Now, I'm trying to remember. Was Kurt Thomas TCU?
Yes.
He was. Okay.
He sure was, Mr. Rebounding Machine, scoring and rebounding machine.
Would you say he was an underrated player in the NBA?
I think he was, but a lot of people don't pay attention to, just like I think you and I talked earlier about Derek Favors, I believe.
Yeah.
A lot of times when you're not flashy, they don't give you the credit you deserve. And then when you playing somewhere like New York, people like the flashy style. And if you're not like that, sometimes people don't give you the notoriety that you really deserve.
Yeah. I got you. We got Sith. And now again, Sith Lord Elias. Elias is going to be joining me a lot on the latest podcast announcement. We're going to be doing a wrestling podcast. It's probably going to be weekly. We're going to do he's going to actually do a lot of stuff for us as well on the wrestling side, dropping some content and everything. We told you guys 2025 is big, and that's not even all the news. We still got more news coming out, hopefully later on. We got more podcasts coming out every single day. It's just going to be huge. That's all we can say. It's going to be huge. So be sure to tune in.
Can you get Sif to go back to the old school? I wish you guys would look up people like Bobo Brazil and the Sheik, people like that. Not the Iron Sheik, just the Sheik. People, old school, because I was a big fan of wrestling back in the day. I don't watch as much now, but I definitely watched back in the day.
Well, we still got to get you on a wrestling show, just to talk wrestling and shoot the crap about wrestling. You got to know about Macho Man.
I've done Comic-Con, man. All you doing is teaching me more things, teaching me to be more versatile. So let's make it happen.
You were a big hit at Big Texas Comic-Con. So hell yeah. And you know what? To the same will do, Derek. So yeah, we definitely will talk to you about it, man. He's a great guy when it comes to wrestling. So definitely want to join us for the new wrestling podcast. More details coming out, but Sith is going to be a part of it. Here with us at Sweep the League Network, man. You had to play out. Now, we were off on Friday. We were watching the Longhorn game, and you murdered the picks again on college football. You were banging them out on NFL football. I was the underdog guy. I took a lot of the underdogs and said, they're going to win, they're going to win, they're going to win. But there was probably no bigger collapse than the Vikings last night against the Rams. You're a 14-win team, and can we say they laid an egg? And, I even have people saying that it really wasn't all Sam Darnold's fault, but, you're the quarterback. What do you got, Derek?
First, I'm going to bring up one of their best right tackle, Brian O'Neill. Gave up about 7 pressures, 2 sacks. Yeah. Christian Darrisaw, of course, we know was out. Then you got Blake Brandell, gave up several pressures, accounted for 2 sacks. So if you look at 9 sacks, Rudy, 82 yards. And Sam Darnold was pressured 43 times. I was doing my research before we got on. 43 pressures, 32 of them were against the offensive line. So, that's a problem. Even Coach O'Connell mentioned it as something that they have to fix going into next year. I have to get Sam held the ball too long on several occasions, but the pressure they were putting on him, Rudy, it would get you all out of sorts if you don't have any time. It's like as soon as they hiked the ball, the Rams were coming. And so I blame Sam Darnold somewhat, but the offensive line was absolutely horrible.
Yeah, it was, man. It was really bad last night. Real quick before we go on to more Viking talks, do you remember, says Derek, do you remember Duke Kamoku?
No.
No, not on the wrestling side, because Dart's a major wrestling guy. He loves wrestling. So
remember, I'm 61 too, man. So young 61.
Keep dropping those wrestling names, man, because we're going to be covering this. We've got
yes, sir.
We got a wrestling podcast, and not only go with that, sports and collectibles, grading the market. That's going to be coming out again. It'll be a weekly show. We got Sweep Unplugged. We got everything here at Sweep the League, and we're still growing. So I appreciate everybody joining us.
Rudy.
Yes, sir.
So looking at, if you go back to, I hope a lot of the people that's watching learn, especially if they're athletes, about why you don't celebrate prematurely. Yeah. And I told you about after they were carrying Sam Darnold on their shoulder, man, after week 17, which is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Yeah. They just imploded after that. And I don't know if they took their foot off the gas or they already felt they had reached the pinnacle. Yeah. Because I know they were 14-2, and this has been a long time. Minnesota's been that good. We can go back a long, long way. But it seemed like the last 2 games, I think did they lose to the better team? Or were they they celebrated too early and they just couldn't regroup? What do you think?
I'd hate to say that the Rams were not the better team. They really showed it last night. A healthy Rams team is a very difficult team, but I will tell you that I really think they celebrated way too early. It was too prematurely. And I think I told you on the phone, that showed the immaturity of that team, the young team outside of Sam Darnold. It showed the immaturity. And you don't celebrate. You did the great Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, Kobe. In a press conference, they said, "Oh, how do you feel?" Well, job's not done. And that's the mentality you have to have. Yeah, you want the series or you want something, but until you're holding that Lombardi trophy, job's not done. You just have the playoffs. Okay. What's the big deal? Is that an accomplishment? It's an accomplishment, but it's not the goal. And I think you're right. I mean, for me, it's celebrating premature, and that's what got them in trouble, in my opinion.
I told you TCU, man, because I had to get John Robertson and his family some love.
Yeah.
But the main reason I have this on is because you and I said we were going to discuss these Minnesota Vikings. So that's the other reason. I have to be honest with you. But look, man, I'm kind of, they had a great season. If you look, it didn't finish well, as we know. But the big thing for me, and the reason I'm wearing this purple, is because I wanted to talk about the future. Sam Darnold was looking at the possibility of signing a long-term deal. And if not, I believe he still could get $40 million with the franchise tag.
Yeah.
But now moving forward, when you look at J.J. McCarthy, basically next on deck, this was a chance for Sam to at least make the organization think about, do we make JJ, give him a chance to get all the way healthy and maybe carry the clipboard for another year before you insert him into the starting lineup? But after this, man, it raises questions. Is Sam, some people were asking, is Sam a starting quarterback? And I still think that with the right team, he's a starting quarterback. But I know if it didn't work out with him, they still have Daniel Jones. But it kind of saddened me because he's taken a lot of the blame. And I just think it was a combination of coaching. It was a combination of the offensive line not doing their job, and Sam, as we know, holding the ball like we talked about Shedeur. The same problem Shedeur is going to have, holding the ball a little too long. And I just don't want him to get all the blame because, 9 points they scored, and they had 9 points and 9 sacks. So it's hard to score when your quarterback is being pressured that much. So I don't want to put all the blame on Sam.
Speaking of Sam Darnold, we got a comment here from Sam Darnold.
Yeah, just too many mistakes on my end. But again, just, really proud of the guys in the locker room for the way they fought all season. Because at the end of the day, in the NFL, you only get one season with one team, with everyone together. And today wasn't our day. And it's as simple as that. And for me, I'm just going to be focused on spending as much time as I can with those guys in the locker room. And then I'll think about, whatever the future holds after that.
A lot of people are saying that comment was really, in a way, aimed at the Vikings, knowing that he's probably not going to be brought back. And I really think that what's going on, Jacob Eric? Jacob Eric's going to be doing our podcast mostly for grading the market. It's going to be he doing one. I'll also be doing a couple of podcasts grading the market. So shout out to Jacob Eric out there. But, with Sam Darnold, it's crazy, Derek, because it kind of got the feel of maybe he's on the move and maybe the Vikings won't bring him back. But that would be a bonehead move to make. You're just coming off of a 14-win season. I get he's going to try to make, he's going to try to get a good contract, but you still got to bring him back. I think JJ's going to be okay, but he's not ready, man. You can't just throw away a 14-win season. There's no way you can.
And it's amazing how a guy, you take all the blame. And then when they were 14-2, I had him in the MVP conversation going down to the last game against the Lions.
Exactly.
And he might have dropped a few notches after that, but I can't just throw him to the side like he didn't have one of the best years. This was the best year of his career. Yeah. He resurrected his career. We know what happened with the Jets. It didn't work out. He comes to Minnesota. He leads them to a 14-2 record. They celebrate prematurely. It wasn't just him. I blame the coach for that more than I blame the players, to be honest with you, Rudy, for allowing that to happen. It kind of reminds me what we're going to get into in a little while about the Texans, smoking the cigars after they win a first-round game. And then now you got to get ready for next week, and you got to go against Patrick Mahomes. So, Sam, man, I hope they bring him back. I still think he'll get a raise, I believe. I think he earned it. And I'm just not going to say the man just fell off a cliff because the team struggled the last 2 games. He didn't play alone. The other guys didn't show up either.
Yeah, shout out to Lehi. Says, what's good? Late to the show, but we are here. Yeah, shout out to Lehi. MCS General Contracting, the sponsor, the main sponsor, the only sponsor right now, and the greatest sponsor of all time, MCS General Contracting. Get your contracting needs from Lehi. Call Lehi and the boys. They're going to take care of you right away. Guaranteed. You know, I even heard Lehi call me. He said that, you know, he's doing driveways, you know, for people now. And that's amazing, man, because people need driveways. It's just telling you, man. You need everything done at your house. Lehi and the boys over at MCS General Contracting are going to take care of you. He says Sam Darnold leading the team to 14 wins is wild. Chiefs dropping a 40 piece on the Texans. Give me a second before we talk about Chiefs and Texans, because Derek did want to mention about the celebration part. But it's funny because on the Darnold train, Derek, it's very rare that I kind of agree with Colin Cowherd, but he kind of made some good points on his show. Here's Colin Cowherd on Sam Darnold.
The easy show to do, the easy one, is Sam Darnold stinks. No, he doesn't. He's closer to Baker Mayfield than Patrick Mahomes. He doesn't stink. And I know what you're all saying. Colin, you love Sam Darnold. I do. But I kept saying all year, when's the shoe going to drop? I know Sam's reckless. I watched him in college. I watched him in the pros. But he was having like an MVP level season. And it happens. We've seen quarterbacks like this, Ken O'Brien, Rich Gannon, whatever it is. Guys have unbelievable, remarkable seasons. But the truth always comes out. Sam Darnold actually had a very Dak Prescott-like season. Won a lot of games. Everybody likes him. Players rally around him. Coaches love coaching him. Wins a lot of games. And then he faces elite competition, and it doesn't look the same. So Sam Darnold was 0-4 against the Rams and the Lions, and he was 11-0 against everybody else. And the good news for Sam Darnold is most everybody in the league is everybody else. Tampa got it right. They paid Baker the contract that Sam should now get. So they're going to go now with J.J. McCarthy, and they're going to give the young kid a shot. And Sam is absolutely going to have a market. I don't know where he's going to go, but Baker Mayfield had a market. Hell, Geno Smith had a market. But Sam's season, let's not take away from it. It was remarkable. It was a great season. It was a fun season. This team was picked to finish 4th.
He's right. I mean, there's going to be a market for Sam Darnold. Even though he struggled a playoff game, you cannot dismiss the season he had. And there are so many teams out there that, let's be honest, the quarterback group in this draft class, it's not great. It's not great. Even the Cam Ward, who's going to be the projected number 1 pick, is still not a shoo-in as, you know, an elite quarterback or a quarterback that's going to come in like a Jaden Daniels or a Bo Nix. So Sam's going to get offers, but like Colin said, you know, you can't really dismiss what he did, and he's going to have offers out there.
Well, and Colin somewhat dismissed it, though, Rudy. I don't know if he realizes it or not. He said Sam Darnold's 11-0, basically against inferior competition, didn't he?
He did say that.
And 0-4 against competition.
Yeah.
So if that tells me that the team struggled against that played well against inferior competition.
Yeah.
And then when they met the tough teams, the team didn't show up. Yeah. That's not a Sam Darnold team. You got 53 guys on the roster. And so if you're going to give him credit for the 11-0, you can't just blame it. You're giving him and the other guys. They went 11-0. You know, he played well, 11, and then all of a sudden he just fell off the cliff. What about those guys, the other guys that was supposed to be doing things for him? You have 3 5s. You got the offense, you got defense, special teams. All of them came up short. Justin Jefferson wasn't exactly looking like Jerry Rice.
Yeah.
So you have to get the other guys. They weren't exactly superstars either. The team as a whole. Kevin O'Connell got out-coached the last 2 games. That also factors in. We can't just make it where Sam Darnold is the only one that stands out, because as you know, this is not individual tennis. This is a team game, and you win as a team, you lose as a team.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's the thing. I don't feel that it was a Sam Darnold loss. It was a team loss. The whole team looked bad last night. And you can't blame one person. And like Derek continues to say, and he says it a lot, not just about Sam Darnold, but a lot. You can't blame one person. It's a team game. It's a team effort. There's, 52 other guys besides Sam Darnold that could have made a difference, could have done a little bit more. The offensive line just wasn't up to par. I mean,
who does that remind you of? A team in college last year by the name of the Colorado Buffaloes.
Yeah, it really does.
Okay, so we were talking about their offensive line. So we couldn't give all the negative to Shedeur. They didn't give him time. And then you come back this year, they made some changes, and look at the difference. He wins the quarterback of the year. Mm-hmm. So it's not all on Sam. They have some things that they have to take care of over the summer. And it starts with the offensive line. And once you do that, and then they'll figure out the J.J. McCarthy. But I got to tell you, I'm like you. I still say that you err on the side of caution when it comes to a guy you're going to make your franchise player. Yeah. Because you don't want to put him in there in the fire too early, and then you have a major setback. So I say that you give JJ some time to get situated, get a little healthier over the course of the season. And then if things aren't going well, or you're 5-3 or whatever, if you want to make a change halfway into the season, JJ will be much healthier. You can make that change. I'm not going to say it's like Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, but you understand me. You let the man get healthier, and then you go from there.
Yeah, you're right. And that's the thing is, I think you bring Darnold back. And again, I don't think he's going to command, Patrick Mahomes money. There's no way, but he's going to command a raise. And what Colin said too is about Baker's contract. That's about right. I mean, for Sam Darnold, that's about right for his contract right now. I think he deserves at least that right there. So you're not going to give him Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow type of money. You're going to give him a fair contract. He's going to come back. He's going to allow J.J. McCarthy to ease into that starting quarterback position. They should be fine. And the thing is, you know what? If Darnold struggles to start the year next year for the Vikings, if he comes back, then you've got JJ and you've got Darnold who can be a backup for a while. I mean, you can always interchange him. So it's not a bad situation if the Vikings re-sign him. It's actually going to benefit them a whole lot more. We're going to see what happens in the offseason before we move on to the coaching carousel.
Let me say this quick before we move. It's another guy out there lurking in case they decide they don't want to go with Sam and you still want to get JJ time to get healthy. There's a guy that was quarterbacking your team, those Atlanta Falcons, out there by the name of Kirk Cousins.
That's a lot of money. Considering that he's going to get paid guaranteed money from the Falcons, he could go there for relatively cheap. But, I mean, he's already had a stint in Minnesota. I don't know if he'd want to go back. I mean, do you think he'd want to go back?
I think he would, because they're going to still be a dangerous team next year. It's not like they were 8-9 or something. They were still ended up overall 14-4, counting a playoff loss. So if I had an opportunity to play there somewhere I've been before, the team, he has more weapons now than he had when he was there before. So it's just a thought. I mean, but either way, I'm hoping they bring Sam back. I have to be honest, because I think he's earned it. And you can't just cast the man away because of the last two games, the way they fell off the earth. Are you going to cast away Justin Jefferson? So give a man a chance.
Yeah, you got to give him a chance. I think he ultimately comes back. I don't think he goes anywhere. I think Minnesota is smart enough to definitely bring him back. I mean, they have to there. They have to. The rest of the playoffs go this week here. You got the Chiefs and Texans. You got the Bills and Ravens. That's big time matchup right there. Lions and Commanders, Eagles and Rams. I'm so looking at this and I think, man, this is on paper, Derek, it looks pretty easy to kind of pick some of these games. I mean, you would think the Chiefs have a major advantage over the Texans. But what, a year or 2 years ago, the Texans were up 28 or 24-0 on the Chiefs. So, I mean, C.J. Stroud's rookie year. I mean, you're looking at the Lions and Commanders. You're like, oh, come on. I mean, it's the Lions and Commanders. The Lions should roll over them, but I don't look at it like that. The Eagles and Rams, it's like, oh, the Eagles. But the Rams,
not necessarily.
Exactly. The Rams passing game the Eagles fits. Exactly.
Yeah, that defense.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. And Saquon's got a job on his hands, and Jalen Hurts as well, because Sean McVay is going to have a heck of a game plan. And his offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator are going to be zoned in, and they're going to make Jalen Hurts beat them. They're not going to let Saquon Barkley beat them. And it's going to be, hey, that defense looks championship worthy, to be honest about it. So that's going to be a good heck of a game.
That's going to be a massive game, just like the Bills and Ravens. Now, the Bills were your pick going to Super Bowl. They're running into the Ravens. Now, the Ravens are actually playing better than what we give them credit for, I guess we'll say. We both picked I picked the Steelers to go over the Ravens, but I figured Zay Flowers missing would be a really big burden on them. But this is the MVP game, Derek. I mean, this is Allen versus Jackson. This is the game here. I you know what? Don't say anything, because we're going to say that for last year. We're going to go to Texans and Chiefs, because you get real giddy when we talk Bills, and I want to kind of lay it a little low there. Chiefs and Texans. I know I'm not going to say I've counted out the Chiefs all year. They're getting hot at the right time. You never bet against Mahomes. I really don't foresee the Texans winning this game at all, but wouldn't surprise me if they came out on top. But I think playoff Patrick comes through this week. I think it's going to be a good game, but the thing you circled was the celebration, the cigar smoking after that first playoff win. Does it come back to bite him in the butt?
Man, I didn't like that. And they worried about Rex Ryan. That's what bothers me. At this point in the season, you talking about we smoking that whatever bye week pack Rex Ryan and all that nonsense. And you got guys in there videoing it, and I just thought that was immaturity, kind of like the Vikings. And this is even at a worse time because it's the playoffs. But on the other side, Rudy, I got to say this. Kansas City's offense is not what it's been these last several years. And I believe that when you got C.J. Stroud, I believe C.J. can get out the pocket. I believe that they can put up points against this Chiefs defense. And to me, it comes down to, can Patrick and his guys move the ball, move the chains, and can they score? I think the Texans are going to give them they're going to have their hands full, because I think the Texans want to make it a high-scoring game. And, you go at that. If you attack that Chiefs defense, man, and you throw the ball, you get out the pocket and you throw it long, you can score on them. And, you got to worry about Chris Jones and those guys. So I say a lot of times you got to get outside the pocket. And CJ is going to have to use his legs. And I believe if you play that type of game, they can get the Chiefs a better game than people expected, much better game than people are expecting.
Yeah, then you can move over to Lions and Commanders. Now, the cardiac Commanders is what they're being called. I mean, they're coming right at the very end there. They're winning games. Jaden Daniels is looking like, a veteran with this team. But, the one question that you and I have posed when it comes to Detroit is their defense. But, Dan Campbell's had that defense, and Aaron Glenn's had that defense still rocking and rolling. They got a couple of guys back. David Montgomery should be back for this game. So they're getting healthier at the right time, and that's a good thing. But the Commanders just seem to be one of those teams that won't ever die at the end. Let me know if I'm wrong here. This is a game where the Lions need to take full advantage from the first half, get up to a huge lead, and just keep going. They cannot just take their foot off the gas. They've got to keep it on their foot on the pedal to the metal. They got to get downfield. They got to get quick scores. They just got to control this game. And I feel that's the only way that they'll be able to control Jaden Daniels and the Commanders.
Well, Magic Johnson's got his loyalty, of course, is to the team that he's minority owner, but you know where Magic is from. Magic is from Lansing, Michigan. Yeah. So this game has special meaning to him. And it has special meaning to me as well. But I'm going to tell you this. Jaden Daniels is maybe the best rookie we've seen in many, many years. I won't say many, many years, because Mahomes wasn't too bad either. Yeah. So He's something else. He looks like he's a franchise player. He is legit. But when you're talking about playing against a team that's one of the best offenses of all time, and we're playing at Ford Field, I think it's going to be a little too much over Mr. Daniels' head and his team's head. And I think they come back down to earth. And I think we move one game closer to Super Bowl. Here we come.
If you're Dan Campbell, do you want to see the Eagles or the Rams? Because I'm not going to lie, I want to see the Eagles.
We don't care, Rudy. We don't care, my man.
I know.
Bring on. We want to beat the best teams. You know how some people want to take the easy route?
Yeah.
The Lions have been building for this. Last year, that San Francisco 49ers game was a wake-up call. We want the best that there's out there. So bring on Saquon and those guys. If they can get by that Rams defense, we'll take either one. We don't care. Just we moving on. That's all that's important. So we're going to knock off the Commanders and then bring it on.
We got one more game to talk over here just a little bit. Definitely not getting our picks in for the week. That'll come later on in the week. Before we get into the big NFL news, which is Mike McCarthy being fired from the Dallas Cowboys, let go, however you want to look at it. Also Mike Tomlin. And then later on in the show, we're going to go over some Steph Curry comments, because I feel those Steph Curry comments can actually benefit Spurs fans that are always crying about making moves and stuff like that. So we'll get into that here, but we've got Bills and Ravens. And here's the thing on the Bills and Ravens. This is my marquee game right here. It's MVP versus MVP. Now, they haven't given Josh Allen MVP yet. And I'm not saying yet. I don't know if he's going to win it. But what I'm saying is you got the top two candidates for MVP this season. And the biggest difference is you've got Derrick Henry, who is just playing bonkers. And if there's one player that I'm circling, it's him as a difference maker in this game against Buffalo. Ravens have a clear shot at winning. The Bills have a definite clear shot of winning as well. This game right here, needless to say, do you feel it's going to have to be won in the air for a team to win this game?
Oh, man, this is a tough one because, as you know, the Ravens spanked the Bills earlier in the season. And so, of course, you know, sometime, Rudy, you know, when teams win convincingly, they don't make changes. They stick to what worked the first time.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, that can come back to bite you. The Bills have played better. They've been consistent throughout the year. I'm sure they're going to look at the film and they're going to make adjustments. But, yeah, this is you talk about a barn burner, man. This is and I have to be honest. They haven't announced the MVP yet. And I know it's supposed to be just covering the regular season, Rudy.
But this is it.
But you know how behind the scenes, how things go. Yeah. I believe whoever wins this game, I bet you they don't announce the MVP before this game. What do you think about that?
They won't do it. This is the game that.
Okay.
Yeah.
whoever wins this game, that guy is going to be the MVP. So you know where I'm going. Josh Allen, MVP. I think they limit Derrick Henry. And even if you hold Derrick Henry, I'm going to be honest, if you could hold Derrick Henry right now to 90 or 100 yards and stop him from getting those 40 and 50-yard runs, you got a good chance to beat them. And you still got to make Lamar throw the ball through tight windows. But it's going to be hard, Rudy, because I watched the last game, and Lamar gives really good fakes. Like he's running the ball to the outside, and defenses bite on that. And then next thing you know, he's handing it to Henry, and Henry's going up the middle, basically uncontested. So Buffalo has a very tough job, but I believe in them. I think they'll figure it out, and I expect it to be a 38-35 type game, and I'm going with the Bills. Well, I can tell you that my pick today, because it's going to be the same when we do it at the end of the week. It's going to be a high-scoring game.
I mean, your Super Bowl picks are still in there, so I expect you to take Bills and Lions every single week as long as they're in there. So that's no problem at all. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I like the 3-point difference there. I agree with you on the Derrick Henry part, and I also think that stacking the box to keep Lamar in the box as well, you know, make him a passer, is definitely a key. And I would rather try to beat them making Lamar a passer. And if they beat us and he beats us, then you know what? He beats us. I mean, playing tight man coverage, just having a spy on him, he doesn't get out of the pocket. It's easier
Two
said
spies,
than done.
really.
Yeah.
Two spies, because I think at game time it's going to be like 7 or 8 degrees or something.
Yeah.
So you got another spy when you're talking about that home field advantage and them playing in Buffalo. That's a tough place to win. And that's, I think it's going to be their biggest benefit is playing in that Buffalo, man, that snow, the tundra, I call it. That's going to be a tough one. And I just think the home field advantage is going to be the difference. And I still say it's going to be a very high-scoring, close game. Might come down to a field goal, like I told you. If I remember correctly, I told you Notre Dame was going to come down and win by a field goal against Penn State.
Yeah, he did.
I think the same thing is going to happen.
It's going to be a fun-filled NFL weekend, man. There's no doubt about that. We've got the games covering up. We're going to cover the rest of the games. Actually, the games that are here, we're going to cover them again at the end of the week. Get our picks in, get more analysis for you guys out there. I was going to take a commercial break, but no, let's get into this real quick. We'll get to a commercial break here in a second. Biggest news out of the NFL, Derek, Mike McCarthy.
Big breaking news out of the NFL. Cowboys fans have been waiting for a decision. His contract was coming up on the 14th. One day before that, Mike McCarthy will not continue as head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. That is the very latest from our senior NFL insider, Jonathan Jones. This ends a 5 tenure in Dallas, which featured 3 playoff appearances, just 1 postseason win. The Cowboys went on to have a disappointing 7-10 record this past season, McCarthy's worst since his first year in Dallas.
Yeah, so McCarthy is out. A lot of Cowboy fans are joyful about that Mike McCarthy firing. And I, for one, I'm okay with it. I'm glad with it. I felt like he was never the right coach for the job to begin with. The way the Cowboys were built was not for Mike McCarthy. It wasn't going to work out. And, you know, you've got fans saying Kellen Moore's at the top. You've got people saying Kellen Moore, Deion Sanders is the popular pick. There's just so many names. And you've even had TJ Houshmandzadeh, former wide receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals, on a show that he does, basically say that the Cowboys coaching job, it's not worth it. It's not worth what you want. And the reason why is because he made complete sense. Every head coach from Jimmy all the way to McCarthy has never been hired by another NFL team again after coaching for Dallas. I didn't even realize that. Bill Parcells tried to get another job, couldn't get one. Jimmy Johnson, I mean, he coached Dolphins, but no success. But yeah, after Jimmy, no other coach for the Cowboys have ever gotten a job after that. I think Mike gets one, but he's right. Houshmandzadeh's right. The Dallas job isn't everything that it's meant to be.
Dominique Foxworthy also talked about that earlier today on Inside. What is that show? First Take.
Yeah.
And it made sense to me because Jerry's not, okay, let's say it's a great destination if you like popularity. But if you're expecting to go there and to have some authority and to be a coach, and that's going to make it hard because Jerry made it clear a few days ago about him buying a team when I believe he was 46 years old.
Yeah.
And this is something he plans on doing till the day he die. So it's basically, he's telling people, you come in there, this is my show. And that's the main reason. I just don't think Jerry can get outside of himself because we know who the real coach should be. I think I know. It should be Deion Sanders. But then you got 2 guys that are going to be combative with each other because they're both used to the spotlight. And so Jerry is not going to get out of his way. So it's really not as great a destination as it seems. And I agree with TJ Houshmandzadeh, and I also agree with Dominic Foxworthy. It might look good on the outside, but when you're dealing with it on a daily basis, I don't think it's the ideal situation.
It's crazy because, you know, you and I, we go back and forth on a lot of stuff. And you mentioned Deion, and that's the push. I don't like Deion as a coach for the Cowboys. And My question is like, what has he really done in college to make him an NFL worthy coach? Because if you got Deion going to Dallas, okay, so nothing against Coach Prime at all, but do you need an authority figure? Has he really been an authority figure at Colorado? I mean, you kicked players out that you didn't want when you got there. To me, that was crap in itself. But, you know, I don't ever feel like he could be an authority figure for NFL players. And that rumor has it that, you know, if he goes to Dallas, Jerry's going to do everything in his power to possibly get Shedeur Sanders. And that would mean trading Micah Parsons. I mean, I'm trading Dak Prescott. And that bothers me because on my draft prospect profile, the biggest question I have circled on Shedeur Sanders is this. You have never played for another coach outside of your dad. Your dad has been on TV shows saying, I will basically dictate where you go play in the NFL. You cannot get out of your dad's shadow, period. That's very concerning for me. But Deion as a head coach, Derek, I would like to see it more on a team like Jacksonville or something like that, where it's still kind of up and coming and not a team that is quote unquote America's team. And the spotlight is just so big because you're right. It's going to clash. And it doesn't make sense to me.
I think it would be a great move, Rudy. And the reason I think I'm taking Shedeur out of the equation. Okay. The reason I think Deion is the guy that's made for Dallas is because we know what he did as a Dallas Cowboy. And when you're dealing with sensitive guys like a Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, those kind of guys, they can't buck the system. This is not Mike McCarthy. This is not Jason Garrett. This is Deion Prime Sanders, a guy that's a first ballot Hall of Famer and a guy that they have to basically fall in line to because neither one of them has approached the level that Deion has reached, and there's no guarantee they ever will. So sometimes you need that guy that kind of humbles you. And I think for Deion, that's why I say for them, he would be the perfect guy. I think they're not the type of players to respect coaches that haven't played the game. I'm just going by what I've seen from these guys and what I've picked up on. They don't seem to be the kind of guys that respect you if you haven't actually played the game and been in between those lines. And I think bringing in a Deion Sanders would kind of make those guys fall back, especially Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb. And I think that alone would make them a better team but we know that's what's not going to happen is Jerry is not going to stay out of the way. Can you imagine Deion is a guy, is used to talking after the game, right? Mm-hmm. We're so used to seeing him being interviewed. The only way it won't work is because instead of him being interviewed, who's going to be interviewed first? Jerry Jones. Yeah. And that's the biggest issue. If Jerry were to move aside, him and Steven, and let Deion do Deion, I think it would be a perfect fit for the Cowboys.
You're going to have to convince me of it still, because I look at it from a coaching aspect, and I'm like, man, I don't see how he can transition from, an okay college football coach to being a successful NFL coach. It could happen. I mean, I'm not saying it can't happen. It could happen.
I said just Dallas now. I said I just think he fits with them. And we know he wasn't Colorado. He did. I mean, he improved the team, man. But Deion's a tough one. He's going to hold. I think he'll hold the guys more accountable in the NFL because they're getting those big salaries. I think he'll be more hands-on as far as holding them accountable than he was in Colorado. I think Colorado, he was still getting his feet wet. And of course, he had his two sons. That was a big focus. And Travis Hunter. But at Dallas, he wouldn't have those guys. He could focus more on actually being a coach. In college, you have to nurture those young guys, Rudy. Remember, they get paid nil money, some of them, but they still young people and, and being influenced. And in the pros, it's more business. And I think he would be made for that because Deion wouldn't have a problem straightening those guys out.
He would, he may not have that problem. It was funny, Derek, because I can't remember what podcast or what show I was watching, but they made the suggestion that Deion fly to Dallas, land, and take another plane to Tallahassee, Florida State, because Coach Prime at Florida State, NIL money, the players he can attract there, former Seminole himself, that would be the perfect fit for Deion Sanders, and then transition him to head coach of an NFL team. But that was where I was going to go with it too. I take the Bill Belichick thing right now. North Carolina, he can still kind of come out, but I think he's going to actually coach a year at North Carolina, at least until July. He'll coach the offseason at North Carolina until that buyout's $1 million. But I think Deion in Tallahassee and Florida State, I think that fits really good for him, man. I'm just throwing it out there, man. I mean, something like that might work for him.
I don't disagree. The only reason I said Cowboys is because I think he could straighten those guys out. But now I'm going to go to the bottom line. You know Deion very well. Mm-hmm. What would he do? What would it take for him to go to Dallas? They have to open up. Remember Jalen Ramsey was talking about breaking out the Brinks truck? Yeah. I think Deion saying that he's going to stay at Colorado is because I think that's a smokescreen to try to kind of get Jerry and Steven to ante up some money. And if they were to make Deion by far the highest paid coach in the NFL, I think that would be good enough to get him to transfer over to the NFL.
Man, you think he wants to be the highest paid coach in the NFL right now?
Oh, no question. His name is Prime. Are you serious?
But what has he accomplished to get that money? That's the problem I have.
His name is Prime.
So give him an NIL deal. I mean, there's no reason to pay him for the coaching, man.
Deion said you don't have to. You know who Deion reminds me of when it comes to money? And it's a good thing, Floyd Mayweather. You don't make offers to Floyd. Floyd makes offers to you.
That's a good point.
And Deion reminds me of that same makeup. And I just think, he's a man. He knows he's in demand. Aren't we talking about him right now? Aren't they talking about him on ESPN?
Yeah.
They talking about him all over the country. and so they're not talking about Colorado. As soon as McCarthy stepped away, who's the first guy they mentioned? Over Kellen Moore, they mentioned Deion Sanders. They didn't mention Tony Romo or anybody else. They mentioned Deion Prime Sanders. And I think if Jerry were to, he might be the first $20 million head coach.
Man, I don't know. I spend money and throw money away sometimes, but I don't know if I can do that. But then again, I don't have Jerry Jones's money either. Dan Zohar is in here. I suggest, Derek, you'll coach the coaches for monthly workshops. I'm assuming so. Yeah. You're a hell of a coach, man. You're going to have to coach a lot of these coaches, even Deion too.
I'm going to say thank you.
Does it really matter what the Cowboys will get? Does the roster need revamping? So with Jeff in here on Locked On Spurs, when it comes to the coach of the Cowboys, we both made it clear. And again, we gave shout outs to the credit where credit's due. The Cowboys coaching job, it's not as great as you make it out, as anybody makes it out to be. It's so hectic. It's so hell. I don't know who would want to take it unless they had some kind of control, which they can't have. And that's another reason why Deion, I mentioned Mike Tomlin, that he would be a perfect fit there. People have said that Bill Belichick was interested in it, but because, they waited so long, yada, yada, yada. He's not interested no more. Mike Vrabel would have been the perfect coach, but they waited too long. He's now the coach over in New England. There's really and then they can't talk to Glenn and Johnson right now because they've passed that window. They're going to be coaching this weekend. So there's really no guys out there they can really.
Pete Carroll's around.
But, Pete Carroll's a good name to throw out there. And it comes back to I started really thinking like Pete Carroll's number 3. Yeah, Pete Carroll's number 3 on my list.
Hey, Rudy, you know, the worst thing, even if you were like contemplating, the guy sitting back on the couch and you thinking that you're talking to your family and you trying to think about, do I uproot to Dallas? You might have been like convinced that Jerry might make a change, right? But the way he handled that Mike McCarthy situation by denying the interview to the Bears, which was totally wrong, man. I mean, you're playing with a guy's career. He wouldn't let him interview. So right away, when he denied the interview, it looks like you're going to bring him back to the Cowboys. And then a couple of days later to let him go, man, I just think that was so wrong. And I think that affected a lot of coaches that might have been interested in that job. You know, that was just wrong, man. That's just something you don't do. And next season, the Cowboys, karma is a B. You know what they say. And so it's going to be hard to get a coach that's really bought in, a high-profile coach, because that situation is going to stick in a lot of people's minds.
Yeah, and that's a good point right there. Nobody even realizes that they really screwed up the McCarthy thing. They really screwed him up. Good thing is Mike has an interview, I think, tomorrow with the Bears, so he'll be able to get that interview with the Chicago Bears. Also, Jeff asked, does the roster need revamping? Oh, no question it needs revamping. They're going to need a running back. They could draft one, and they should draft one in this draft. The offensive line's got to get better. They've got to work on that secondary. There's a lot of things. You got to you have to add a second receiver alongside CeeDee Lamb. You've got, in my opinion, you've got to go get a good tight end. There's just so much that the Cowboys need. There's no doubt about it.
Rudy.
What do you got?
I think more so offense they might have to revamp. Defensively, remember, they were beat up. You had guys that were hurt majority of the season.
Secondary.
So, we kind of going through it in Detroit. When a lot of your top guys are out, and then you got to go to some of your second unit guys. I think that hurt them somewhat this year. And so I don't think they need a whole lot of revamping, but like the pivotal positions, like you just said, tight end. And we definitely need, I think they need a running back. I like Dowdle, how you pronounce his name.
Rico.
But I don't think he's the answer. We know they let Ezekiel walk. They let Tony Pollard walk. So, yeah, they definitely need a running back. Are there any Joe Mixons out there, though? That's the question. Any DeMarco Murrays out there?
Not really. Najee Harris is an unrestricted free agent, but I mean, I don't know if Najee's the guy you want in Dallas. It's going to be tough. But, you know, as far as defense goes, for me, it's secondary. They could always use a lot of secondary help and linebacker. I think linebacker help, those are the 2 points.
Vander has killed him, man. Yeah. Vander has killed him. To me, that set them back more than anything.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at superstardom there. Yeah. And then what happened to him? I think it was his neck or something, neck injury.
It was a neck injury.
Yeah. So he's at home after they lost him. It seemed like they haven't been the same. But I really saw superstardom. But I do think the offense needs to revamp. When was the last time the Cowboys had a tight end? Jason Witten?
Yeah, I would say a legit tight end.
I'm saying legit Jason Witten.
Yeah. I would say so. So that'd be back in the Romo days.
A tight end, a running back, and another receiver to put on the other side of CeeDee Lamb, and then you got a very, very good offense, and then you just fill in those certain roles and hope guys get get healthy on the defensive side, and then they're going to be better next year than this year. I really believe that. I just hope Jerry doesn't rip it apart and bring in a coach that's not qualified. Maybe Jason Garrett comes back. Who knows?
Oh, no. You know, you're making Cowboy fans cry right now. You know, I will give a quick shout out.
At least be 8-8.
I'll give a quick shout out before we go to our quick commercial break to Coach Gio, as he's the one that said the Cowboys would win probably like 7 games total. And I called him a liar on that. So shout out to Coach Gio. He knows his stuff. His Rams are still in the playoffs. Derek's Lions are still in the playoffs. And my Falcons, as much as I told you guys are not going to do anything, they did not make the playoffs. So on that note, we're going to take a quick commercial break so I can go get the tissues and wipe away the tears in my eyes, because I am not celebrating any playoff performances by the Atlanta Falcons. Hall of Famer Derek Irvin Rudy Campos Jr. A quick commercial break. We'll be back. Are you looking for a contracting company that gets the job done right the first time? Look no further than MCS General Contracting. MCS specializes in top quality concrete work, including patios, driveways, foundations, and swimming pools. The team of experts are dedicated to delivering exceptional results and unparalleled customer satisfaction. At MCS General Contracting, they're not just hardworking, they're local. Based in San Antonio, they are committed to building relationships and trust within the community. That's why MCS guarantees your satisfaction. They pride themselves on getting the job done right the first time, every time. So why wait? Contract MCS General Contracting today to schedule your project and experience the difference for yourself. MCS General Contracting, building a better San Antonio, one project at a time. Proud sponsors of Sweep the League.
You are watching Sweep the League TV. Make sure you subscribe and catch our new videos.
Sweep the League TV with Rudy, Derek, and Coach Gia. Let's get back to the live show. You are watching the best in the business.
All right, welcome back to Sweep.
Rudy, I'm sorry, I got to interrupt. Who was that, man? That song there was fire.
So that is another release from STL Music and SOTB, Shemai on the Beats, called Broken Soul. The album is Face the Sun. So
that's fire, my man. Yeah.
I've had that song on repeat since it got released on New Year's Day, the entire album. So I've had that song on repeat for a long time, and I'm going to be promoting it here throughout the week. So I'll send you the link to it so you can check it out.
Please do. That is fire. Ooh.
Hey, man, I mean, Derek, we've been saying that another part of Sweep the League is STL Music and SOTB Music. We're releasing music left and right. So everybody's got to join in. So be sure to hit that subscribe button as we got more STL music coming out here. Broken Soul, the newest song here from STL here. You got the tissues? Thanks. I need the tissues, man.
I went and got tissue for you.
I need them.
I got you back and tissue for Steph Curry.
Oh, God. Steph Curry. That's a good transition there. Let's get to some Steph Curry comments here. We got Steph Curry here commenting on why you don't blow up stuff.
Damn. Here's why Warriors star Steph Curry warns the team to take responsibility and not to make desperate trades amid their struggles. Despite their recent struggles where they've lost 17 of their last 24 games, Steph Curry has made it clear he doesn't want the Golden State Warriors to make desperate trades that could compromise the franchise's long-term future. Speaking after a frustrating 104-101 loss to the Toronto Raptors, Curry emphasized a measured approach. Desperate trades or desperate moves that deplete the future. There is a responsibility on allowing or keeping the franchise in a good space and good spot when it comes to where we leave this thing when we're done. Doesn't mean that you're not trying to get better. The Warriors' current predicament has naturally led to speculation about big-name trade targets like Jimmy Butler. Acquiring Butler would require trading cornerstone players like Andrew Wiggins or Draymond Green, moves that seem unlikely given their importance to the team's culture and performance. With an aging core of Curry and Green, the franchise is balancing the need to remain competitive now while setting up for success in the post-Curry era. With the clock ticking toward the February 6th trade deadline, the Warriors face a critical decision. Stay patient and build for the future, or make a calculated move to reignite their fading championship hopes.
Yeah, so I mean, Steph's saying don't necessarily blow it up. I mean, he doesn't want to hit the panic button. And, I compare it to Spurs fans that, want to blow it up, trade players left and right. I've always said this, and, my whole dilemma is trades are not that easy. even draft pick trades, trading picks for future picks and drafts. It's not that easy. It really isn't, because you don't know, as a GM, me putting on the GM hat, if Derek comes to me and I've got a first this year, first next year, and a first 2 years later, but I want your second best player, it may sound like a perfect deal, but my question as a GM is, okay, I'm giving you my second best player. I'm getting picks in return. I don't know if those picks will ever pan out. I mean, I'm taking more of a risk. So wheeling and dealing is very difficult in any sport. But I know you wanted to talk about the Steph Curry comments. What do you think about those comments by Steph?
Well, he's saying don't mortgage the franchise. Don't panic. And you give up the franchise. You start giving away picks and try to bring in the easy fix and mortgage your future, basically. And they should have appreciated him for even talking like that. But I don't want people to get it twisted. Now, he was still saying if there's moves out there that can make the team better this year, you go for it. But you don't go for it like for that 1 year fix. And I could bring up a guy it's like a Paul George situation.
Yeah.
You don't want to mortgage your franchise, and then you bring in a guy like, you see what happened. Paul George is in Philly. He's been moved. He's playing center position and all that. So you don't want to give up guys like Moses Moody and Kuminga. And the reason I say that, Rudy, is people today in the era we're in, if it doesn't work out 1 week, you want to make change. They do it, I mean, just in relationships. It's just people are too impatient. You have to grow a core. And if you look at the Warriors with Steph, Draymond, and Klay, they develop chemistry. Your main three players have to be together for a while. And if it doesn't work out that way, you're going to encounter the same thing they're encountering right now in Phoenix with Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker. You got three guys that you have not gave a chance to really get together and build a core. James Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant. How did that work out? So sometimes you have to suck it up. You might struggle a year. It might not meet your expectations, but you can't just panic and start making unnecessary moves that are going to come back and bite you later. And that sounds like, to me, what Steph was saying.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like that's exactly what he's saying. It's so hard to make deals, man. It's so hard to blow things up. I feel for Spurs fans, because the biggest worry they have is, well, we don't want to, make Victor mad and he wants to leave. And you got to stop and think, Victor's here for 8 years. I mean, they've got him for a while. And again, if anybody believes the Spurs, Pop primarily at the time, if anybody doesn't believe that Pop went to Victor and said, look, we're drafting you, obviously. It's going to be a struggle for a while. We're trying to rebuild around you. If you feel they didn't have that conversation, I don't know what to tell you. That was probably the first words out of their mouths, was it's going to be a rebuild for a little bit. We're going to put players around you. Give us a little bit of time. Victor shows frustration, but he never shows frustration about leaving. Never. He understands. He's smart. This year shows that they're going to put players around him, but it's going to still take time. They're on pace to win way more games than anybody expected. So it takes time. And it's funny because of the picks. I was on Locked On Spurs today with Jeff Garcia, our buddy. And Jeff pulled the rug from under me. He said, you know what? You're going to do the show and you're going to give everybody a reason as to why the Spurs keep the picks they have from Atlanta and don't trade them. I said, okay, I can do that. So I talked to him about it. We talked. He wants to get your take on those Atlanta picks. Do you keep them or do you trade them? And before you go on, my biggest thing was be on the trade and keep part. I would trade them for a player that is two things. An all-star minimum all-star. Superstar is like, yeah, way up there. But minimum an all-star and loyalty. We know he's going to re-sign with us because that's the biggest thing for me, which I told Jeff on the show, loyalty is very rare in the NBA.
Loyalty.
I mean, Giannis, Shea, Victor, Jokic.
You got a handful. How about
probably
that?
the only four that I can think of.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if Steph has a chance to go win somewhere else. I think Steph might do it.
Nah, Steph's gonna retire a Warrior.
He's only got like 2 or 3 years left, so yeah, I think he can make that.
They're gonna give Steph. They're gonna give him a $70 million gift to league because I think Shea has a chance to sign this summer, and the last year of his deal would be almost $80 million. So they're gonna roll out the red carpet for Steph. But yeah, you trade those picks if necessary and bring in a guy. But when you mentioned loyalty, man, I was like, oh boy, who can you find out there that's a really good player that's loyal? Zach LaVine is a very good player, but he has health issues. He gets injured a lot. And when I look around the league, there are some guys, but like a Scotty Barnes, if you can get a guy like Scotty Barnes. Yeah. But I don't know if just bringing in Scotty Barnes by himself moves the needle. No. Because if I'm the Spurs, if I can get Scotty Barnes, I'm also going if I have to give up some of the franchise, basically, if I get Scotty Barnes, I want a package deal, Rudy. And when you and I have been talking about Jakob Poeltl.
Yeah, Jakob Poeltl would be, package of Jakob and Scotty.
Well, then I wouldn't mind them giving up draft picks. And, Spurs have been really good at storing those draft picks. They were doing it before Sam Presti. I think people forget. But, giving up some picks, man, if you can get 2 guys right now that can come in and help the organization this year, like a Poeltl and Scotty Barnes, I say you go all in on that. All in.
So would it be safe to say that the one name that you and I can easily circle, because it's not going to be Giannis and it's not going to be Shea, obviously. Giannis could still probably do it. You never know, but let's be real. Those 2 guys are probably committed to their team. They'll stay there. But would it be safe to say that the one guy that you and I have circled, and this is the show that I did with Jeff today, so everybody can go check it out. Lauri Markkanen out of Utah. Loyalty, all-star type player. I wouldn't mind moving draft picks for him.
Yeah, if you can get him, you already know. We've discussed that several times this year. If I can get Lauri, I don't care who there's very few players I would keep if I could get Lauri Markkanen. I'm talking about stars. There are some stars I would give up if I was able to acquire Lauri Markkanen. So if the Spurs can figure a way to make that happen, I don't think he would be coming by himself. I think if he came here, I think it would be a combination of Markkanen and Jordan Clarkson, to be honest, bringing Jordan back home.
That doesn't just move the needle. That makes the needle go clockwise a couple of times. You're adding Markkanen right next to Victor. That would be good. You probably, like we mentioned before, it'd be draft picks, maybe Devin or Keldon. You bring in Jordan Clarkson back home. And then you look at the summer of 2025 where, you keep mentioning De'Aaron Fox. That is a contending team in the West pretty damn quick. Like overnight type quick. Top 6 team in the West. If you've got a lineup of Fox, Castle, more likely Barnes, because I think Barnes is more than likely is a couple of years on the contract. Markkanen and Victor. That's pretty instant gratification, I think, if you're a Spurs fan.
I would give up Sohan if I had to. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I would too.
And I would give up Keldon, and you got Jordan Clarkson coming in with Markkanen. So you got a guy that's capable of 25 and 10 every night, Markkanen, and that's playing with Victor. And then you got your guy who will be in the 6th man of the year voting, basically for the next 5 years, Jordan Clarkson. So I would give up. Then I would probably mortgage the franchise pretty much, give up several guys. If I can get, and I'm sure they would want Champagne in Utah as well. But if I can get Clarkson and Markkanen, man, I'm making that happen.
Yeah, I think I am too. So be sure to check out Locked On Spurs today. myself, Jeff Garcia. We're talking about how you should not trade those Hawk picks, but I give a credit to Jeff out there. He puts me on the hot seat for a lot of these shows, and I take it with a grain of salt, and I love doing it, man. I love being on the hot seat. So go check out Locked On Spurs. But nonetheless, man, the coaching carousel is going to just get crazier and crazier. We've got our national championship game set. It's going to be Ohio State, Notre Dame. We're going to cover that on later on the week. We got the rest of the NFL playoffs going on. It's going to be a great weekend of playoffs. Also, shout out to Texas State basketball. I took the family Saturday on, it was like a last minute type of thing, Derek. We went to go see the women play over at Texas State, and my daughter loved it. My wife loved it. I loved it. They have a really good group of girls there. Shout out to Texas State women's basketball. Derek and I are going to be catching the Texas State men's basketball. Go meet up with our good friend. Oh, I'm sorry.
What happened? UTSA. Hey, UTSA, you're going to always be number one for me.
Oh, yeah.
So
No.
this is just the outing. Going to see a friend. That's all.
You got to let me finish. So UTSA is not going to be mad at you because we were invited by a friend of the show, Dante Mathis, to go check out. He's an assistant coach for Texas State, and he invited us out to go check out a game. So we're going to do our due diligence, and we love Dante Mathis. So we're going to go check out a Texas State men's game to go talk to Dante Mathis, go hang out with them for a little while too. So I'm going to try to head out to a UTSA game as well. So you might be seeing us at some of these basketball games. If you do, say hi, say hello. I'm the little short, fat guy. Derek's a real tall guy, so you can't miss us. Definitely can't miss us in the stands either. But we'll let everybody know when we're going to be heading to some games. And maybe you want to join us. That'd be fine out there. So we'll be back tomorrow talking more Sweep the League. Also, we'll be talking more college football. We got the national championship game coming up. We got playoffs coming up. We got Spurs talk. We'll do a little bit of Spurs talk, plus more coaching carousel, everything under the sun. We'll maybe open up the vault, talk about some NBA lore, some legends here that we haven't been able to talk about lately. So we got a lot coming up this week on Sweep the League. So best thing to do is go to YouTube, search Sweep the League TV, hit that subscribe button. So for Hall of Famer Derek Irvin, Rudy Campos Jr., until we sweep the league again, we'll see you later, knuckleheads.
And shout out to all the families in California. The prayers to you and your family.
Definitely.
Everybody stay safe.
Prayers out.
Have a good night. Everybody stay safe. Yes, sir.